Hello and welcome to episode 4 of Stick to the Pod. Yes, episode 4 already. Sorry for this one being out a little bit late. It should have been out a day or two ago. But here I am, Sunday morning, re-recording due to a couple of technical issues. Still learning my way with this. So you're probably going to get another one quite quickly at the start of next week, which episode 5. But let's get cracking into last week's results. I'll do Hawks and Stars after I've done the results because obviously I can talk in that game about that game in a bit more detail. I was there. As you guys know, I am a Stars fan. I do travel home and away watching the Stars. So, okay, I may sound a little bit Starsy most weeks, but what I'll try and do is I'll try and focus a little bit of my attention onto the team they're playing against, just to give you guys an update on how I see how they're playing and how they're going to do and what kind of play style they're bringing. And if you guys want to give me a call and jump on the pod and talk to me about your team, please do. You can email me on sticktothepod@gmail.com, or you can get me on the Twitter page, on the Facebook page, or even leave me a message on YouTube. And if you are following on YouTube, please like and subscribe the page. It does help. But yeah, any other questions, feel free to drop me a line and we can see where we can go. So straight into Saturday's results. Is there any shock results? You could argue maybe the Jets 4, D-side 1, but obviously after we know yesterday's result, we're starting to see that the Jets are going to be a very hard team to beat on home ice. Away from home, not so sure yet. They've only had the one away game so far. I suppose you could argue the closeness of Sheffield and the Solihull Barons. I'll get into them a little bit more later on. Sheffield Summit 3, the Solihull Barons 5. And just looking at the scorers there for the Solihull Barons, the usual guys are there for them. Otterson with a hat-trick and one of the Mulcahy brothers on the score sheet there as well. And the other result, Whitley Warriors 4 and the Widnes Wild 1. For the Warriors, a bit of a defensive scoring from them. Rehards Grigors, Carl Powell, the Canadian defenseman, Harry Harley with a penalty shot goal. Seems to be one of the best D-men in the league this year. Always rated Harry Harley. Very, very good player. And the other scorer for the Whitley Warriors is King. A 4-1 result, like I say, probably about right. Nothing what you'd expect. The Wild are looking like they could be down there battling it out with Sheffield and Nottingham. Whitley, I've mentioned before, there's just not a lot of goals in this roster. They will be shared out most weeks. I don't think one guy is going to stand out with a lot of points. Going back to the Jets, the usual name of Richard Hagger, he'll score plenty for them this year. The other scorers being Morris, Kent, and Kerman, and the D-side scorer being King, which I suppose we can question the Dragons, really. Just the one goal scorer there, King, and with that firepower, you see them at the bottom of the league is absolutely mental. Bottom of the league, without a win, not scoring a lot of goals. Is there something fundamentally wrong in D-side? I know they've got the injury issues, but they had a few more guys back last week. The import forward, Petr Vlusiak, was back. I believe he was on the scorecard, as we'll come to later on. But yeah, something's not quite right at D-side. They're not winning the games I think we all anticipated they would be. Currently, obviously, sitting bottom of the league without a win and not very many goals scored. Going back over the Sheffield Barons game, the 5 goals for the Barons. Hayes got one. I believe he's the German import that used to be at Widnes. Otterson with a hat-trick. He'll always be up there, top 5 scorers. Has been as long as he's been in this league. What's that now? Has he been in the league for about 10 years? Certainly feels like it. Great Swedish player. Plays forward or defence, and always a guy that you have to look out for. And he also plays on a line with the Mulcahy brothers, who are great players. Great players. They are a very top-heavy line with Otterson and Mulcahy, but they will do a lot of damage as we get into later on. Now, for the main fixture that stands out from that week, from the last weekend on the Saturday, the Blackburn Hawks and the Billingham Stars, and that was a battle, an absolute battle from drop of the puck. Both teams wanting to set a marker, both teams saying, yep, we're going to be up there challenging for the title this year. And Stars edged a 1-goal game with a 5-4 victory. Probably the right result on the whole. I would say Stars just had that little bit more extra quality. They've probably got 2 scoring lines a bit better than the Hawks have got 2 scoring lines, although that 2 scoring lines for the Hawks is also stacked with a lot of quality, and they will put a lot of teams to the sword, as we'll again find out later on when we cover Sunday's fixtures. Scorers for the Hawks, you won't be surprised whatsoever. Adam Barnes, Young Shudra, Jacob Luckweich, and Bobby Streetley on the power play. Now, I'm going to talk about Jacob Luckweich for a few moments here. He looks like the world has been lifted off his shoulders with the arrival of Adam Barnes. Last year, Luckweich, he looked like he had the weight. He did look like he had the weight of the world on him. He knew he had to carry this team. He knew he was the standout guy. He knew he was the guy. He was the go-to guy to score all the goals. Now Adam Barnes has come along. You can see some of that weight has shifted, and he's a fantastic player, and probably a player that we might see playing up in the National League very soon, more regularly, because he is a great energy, skates well, carries the puck well, got a good shot on him. And he'll be learning from Adam Barnes, who obviously we know has played at that level. Barnes, we know, is a constant threat. Scored a great goal last night. I shouldn't say last night. It was last week now. He scored a great goal for the Hawks. Stars D didn't handled him okay, but I think the coach Dominic Osman started to get a bit savvy, and we're starting to put Barnes out against certain D-men, which I know doesn't really bother the Stars management too much. They're not one for line matching. Never have been. They have their lines, they have their D pairings, and they play their way. They're not bothered about the other team. I've had a chance to speak to Wilco and Fozzie many a time. I'm in that lucky position where I can speak to them at training. They're not, obviously, they know who the other team's danger men are, but they're not bothered about line matching. They'll play their way, their game, their style, and that's how it'll be. So maybe that is an opportunity for other teams to try and get players like Adam Barnes against the third D pairs, if you will, to try and take advantage of that situation. But it's not something the Stars will worry about. Usual scorers for the Stars in the game, in the 5-4 victory. Import forward, Roland Gritton's got 2. James Moss got on the scoreboard. Shuggy Galloway got 1. And a good goal by defenseman Joe Dowdle, who I think is becoming one of the best defensemen in the division. Solidly, positionally, perfect. Very rarely makes a mistake. Keeps his game very simple. Doesn't try to be clever in his own zone. He's got the puck on his stick. It's off the boards and out. Just keeps his game very simple. And that's what's making him stand out as a very good D-man for the Stars. The big difference between these two teams, I would say, would be defence and netminder. I think the Stars are much stronger in this department than the Hawks. The Hawks haven't got a defence or a netminder. That worries me. Don't get me wrong, that's not saying that they can't turn up and beat the Stars in the Forum or beat them on home ice, because they've got that firepower. But on paper, as we know, games aren't played on paper, the Stars D and netminder is that much stronger than the Hawks. And you could say that about the Warriors as well. I think the Warriors, very confident, very set, couple of netminders and a D-core that are very confident in themselves at the moment, not conceding many goals, winning games closer than what you would think against some teams, but it doesn't matter. They're winning games. They've kept a few clean sheets, and I think they are defensively a bit stronger than the Hawks as well. But the Hawks are streets ahead of Whitley in the scoring department, which that's what the game's about, scoring goals. As I've said many a times, the 6 forwards for the Hawks, outrageously good as anyone's. As for the game itself, it was quite end-to-end. I was a bit shocked at the Hawks reverting to 2 lines. They were very much a development side last year, rolling 3 lines, 4 lines when they had them constantly going at you with 3 to 4 lines. It's a bit different on the Saturday versus Stars. It was very 2-line heavy. I was trying to find my notes, see what else I've written down from the game, because it was a week ago and I've had to re-record this. Let's have a look, just bring up my notes. Hawks power play. Yep, as you would know, with that attacking prowess that they've got, scored a lot of power play goals this year. Stars in discipline, obviously, is costing them a lot of power play goals. They're conceding quite a few, although are scoring a lot of penalty kill goals as well. A lot of short-handed goals for the Stars this year. But that Hawks power play is a warning to all teams. They score pretty much every time they're out on the ice. They score. Barnes, Shudra, Luckweich, Bobby Streetley's a very clever defenseman. He's been around the block a bit, even though I think he's still only 28, 29. He's been around a bit. But as for that game, I think the Hawks obviously also went into a game plan, trying to keep Gritton's quiet. They were doing quite a good job with that for long periods of the game, I should say, keeping them quiet, keeping them out to the outside, being a bit more physical with him than they were most of the guys, getting the sticks on him. But I think that attention was probably a little bit too heavy, and it wasn't really. They missed out on Tommy Spraggan. Tommy Spraggan, great skater, great puck mover from defence to forward. Didn't really have much to an answer for him in the early parts of the game. I think a bit too much attention was focused on Grittins and they left a bit of other details slip a little. And I think for the first half hour, Tommy Spraggan was certainly a big difference in the game, and the Hawks weren't quite sure how to manage him rushing from D. That was also a big part of the game on Saturday, and a big reason why the Stars came away with a 5-4 victory. So as a whole, I think the Hawks certainly still will be up there. Defensively, I wouldn't be surprised if they made a few changes, brought one or two guys in, because that's where they do lack a little bit of quality and lack a little bit of depth. So I could see a D-man coming into Blackburn. I know there was a post on social media saying that they were looking to bring 2 more guys in. Whether that's happened yet, I'm not quite sure. I haven't seen anything for a while. But yeah, the Hawks certainly will be up there come the end of the season. So just a little recap of Saturday's results. We'll start from the top. Blackburn Hawks 4, Billingham Stars 5, Sheffield Simmers 3, Barons 5, Hull Jets 4, Deeside Dragons 1, Whitley Warriors 4, the Widnes Wild 2. So then that brings us nicely to Sunday. And I'll do what again I did for game for the Saturday. Obviously, I was at the Solihull game, the Stars Solihull game. But I'm just looking quickly through the list. Fixed score lines and fixtures that stood out. There was some beauty fixtures on the Sunday, to be fair. Solihull Stars with the unknown of the Barons. Deeside Whitley. Deeside, a team that we expect to be up there. Whitley, we know who they will be up there. The Lions and the Sheffield Scimitars played. It was a derby game. And the Wild Hawks was a derby game. And actually, thanks to the boys that dropped the puck, even though I actually already recorded this before saying that, due to re-recording, I've actually saw the highlights of that game, and I never expected it to be so one-sided. So I'll start at the Wild and the Hawks, actually. It was a 5-0 win for the Blackburn Hawks against local rivals, the Widnes Wild. I think it could be a long season for Widnes Wild. I just don't see no depth anywhere. Defensively, I don't see anything. Goal scoring, don't see a standout guy to at least give them half a chance. I think they'll be plucky. I think they'll be working hard. But against the teams that I would say would be top 4 this year, top 5, Blackburn, Billingham, Solihull, Deeside, Whitley, I can't see the Wild making too much of a dent into those teams unless some changes are made and some players are brought in. Your usual scorers from the Hawks, Barnes got 1, Royd's got 1, White's got 1, and a couple of goals from Riddick. The guys that you'd expect to see from the Blackburn Hawks. So a good win for Blackburn, bragging rights until the next time. The next game, we'll go with Deeside Whitley. I thought this would have been Deeside's first victory. I honestly thought that. I thought getting a few players back, home ice, getting a player like Petr Luciak back would bring a lot of confidence. Whitley not having a lot of scoring, I thought would be could be a big thing because Deeside aren't strong defensively unless the coach made a few changes and give them a bit of assistance at the back and maybe put Ross Kennedy back there, which he might do when McKinney becomes available, just to give the defence a bit of a chance every night, unless he still wants to go all-out attack. But the Warriors coming out 4-2 victors after Deeside took a 2-0 lead. Velusiak actually getting both of those goals. The Warriors, goals scored was spread again. Skippy getting one against his old side, Sean Kipman, that is, against Deeside. He played there for a short while. Lewis scoring, and 2 for Robinson. So, and I think one of them was both of them might have been quite late goals. I haven't really looked into that one too much. Just got the result here in front of me. But the way Deeside's season has started, I'm not too shocked at the result, but I did think Deeside would have got their first win on the board here against the Whitley Warriors. But like I said, that Warriors D is confident and they're finding a way to win games. I think they're currently, I think it is 5 games. Is it 5 games on the bounce without a loss? 5-game winning streak. So it shows you that defense is quite confident in what they are doing at the moment. Let's see what. Do we have the results? I think there's a couple of shutouts on there. So yeah, the Warriors look like a team to beat at the moment with a 5-game win streak and a couple of shutouts. We'll go to the derby game of the Lions and Sheffield. Another close encounter, a 4-3 victory for the Sheffield Scimitars after Lions were 2-0 and 3-1 up. Again, thanks to the drop guys to their highlights. I managed to watch a bit of this due to obviously re-recording, as I previously mentioned. I can obviously have a little bit of input. I managed to watch a bit of that game, and I'm actually quite shocked at the result. I think Lions looked like they were coasting at 3-1. I think they thought the job was done. I think they tried to play too safe instead of trying to finish the game off, and then it's allowed Sheffield to get their first victory. I don't think did they get any last year? I can't remember. I'd have to have a look back on that one. But I think they've certainly got more points this year than they did last year. Lions just with the 1 point. Expecting to see a lot more from Yokoyama this year. I know he's got a few goals, but again, not seeing the 2-3 goals that he scores most games. But that was a good win for Sheffield and bragging rights for their local derby. So moving on to the final game, the Solihull Barons and the Billingham Stars. 4-3 victory for Solihull Barons. Whilst I was confident as a Stars fan going at this game, as you would be, we're on a bit of a win streak ourselves. Solihull is never the easiest place to go ever, no matter what team they've got out. It's not an easy place to go and get a victory. It's not an easy place to play, full stop. Quite a hostile place to go. Very top line heavy, the Solihull Barons, but very, very organised at the back. No star players on the defence. Nothing fancy, just an organised defence, which probably puts them slightly above the Hawks. I think I'm going to change. I think I'm going to add Solihull to the title challenge at the moment. One thing where the Barons will lack is certainly in depth scoring. They are very, very top line heavy. It's all about that first line. That first line does all its damage. It plays all the minutes they can until they've got nothing left. Dan Mackay getting 2, Nick Otterson getting 1. But the line of Otterson and the 2 Mackay brothers is fantastic and as good as any top line out there. So when you're looking at the Stars, who are scoring a lot of goals at the moment, you've got Elder, Sykes, Gritans. You've got the top line of Blackburn, I believe, is Barnes, Lutwyche, is it Royds? I can't remember. I didn't write it down. I should have wrote that down. But either way, I think that Barons top line is a match for any in the league. But like I say, scoring depth could be the Barons' problem this year if teams can manage to shut down that first line. And I know it's easy to say, all you've got to do is shut that first line down. Yeah, the problem is shutting that first line down. They are very, very good. The Stars scorer, Moss got 1. Sykes got a couple. He's on his merry way with a lot of points already this year. I think he's about 20 in 6 games. So yeah, the Stars are scoring a lot of goals. A 4-3 loss. Did come away with a bit disappointed, but I wasn't disheartened. The Stars, you know what, yeah, I'm going to go back on this fixture list. The fixture list is atrocious. Team to be playing 5 away games on the bounce without any issues with the facilities, without issues whatsoever, to be playing 5 away games at this level, covering roughly 1,400 miles, is an absolute disgrace in my opinion. And it's absolute bollocks, to be fair. And that needs to be looked at moving forward to next season. No team at this level should be making 5 away trips on the bounce. And these aren't away trips just to Hull and Sheffield or Whitley Bay for that matter, where the furthest journey is an hour and a half to 2 hours. This is Blackburn. It's over 2 hours. It's Nottingham, just about 3 hours for the lads on a coach. Solihull, over 3 hours on a coach. That's a lot of travelling back to back, 5 games in a row. Thankfully, it comes to an end this weekend with the Stars derby on the Sunday. But the 5th game of a road trip is your derby game. It's not what you want. So the lads have covered a lot of travelling for the Stars, and I don't see it anywhere else in the fixture list. I don't believe anyone has got more than 2 away games on the bounce, which is absolutely absurd to have one team travelling 5 away games on the bounce. And yeah, I've got my rose-tinted glasses on here. But then I think I'd be saying it for any team. No team should be playing that many away games on the bounce at no stage of the season. Never mind at the start of the season, where you've got no home games in, you've only had 2 home games, so you haven't brought much revenue in. That's hard on teams at this level when the cost of fuel is so high, the cost of buses is so high. So yeah, something for the IHA to certainly look at next year. So this coming weekend, what do we have coming up? Just the 2 games on the Saturday. The one that stands out the most is the Hull Jets versus the Whitley Warriors. As I mentioned at the start, Hull Jets are looking like they're going to be a team who are going to do very well on their home ice. Maybe it's the teams going there with the unknown quantity of what the Hull are going to be like, or maybe just Hull are set up to play on that wide ice pad better than most, as you'd expect. And the other game was a 1:20 in the afternoon face-off for the Billingham Stars, who travel to Nottingham Lions for the 4th game of that road trip. And a Sunday, there's a couple of beauty fixtures. I think the Lions Widnes is a top fixture. D-side Solihull is another top fixture. D-side will be desperate to get that first win on the board. Sitting there at the bottom of the league, it ain't looking pretty. The bubble will burst for D-side soon enough and they'll just explode. Could that be Sunday against the Solihull Barons? We'll see. They've got that dangerous top line. And then the other game is probably arguably the game of the weekend, which is the North East Derby, the Whitley Warriors versus the Billingham Stars. So there we have it. I'm just going to call it there. Like I said, this unfortunately had to be re-recorded. It should have been out Friday, but a few technical issues. We'll leave it there because obviously I'll have another podcast coming out early in the week when I cover this weekend's games. And I'll be honest, I want to go and watch some of the Ryder Cup before I head to Whitley Bay. So again, thanks for listening. Thanks for your likes. Thanks for your comments. Please do keep giving me the feedback. It does help. And if you want to come on, if you're a fan, you're a player, a coach, you've got some opinions, some questions you want to ask, some things you want to talk about, feel free. Give me a message and we'll certainly get something sorted out. So bye for now.